I'm going to win the Champions League by only signing free agents. I've taken over Bayer Leverkusen, but got rid of all of their players. I now have £1.7 million per week in wages to spend on free agents. So I'm starting by chatting to Kevin De Bruyne's agents. We're very keen on signing him, and they can do a deal for up to £220,000 per week. He wants to be a star player, and he's coming at the low end with £170,000 a week. I want to get rid of this match highest earner clause, so we're going to up his wages to 185. Will he accept that? No. He wants 215 now. Great. How about 190? He says 210, so let's meet in the middle, and we've agreed on 200. Maybe a little bit of an overpay, but I think he'll be worth it. Unai Simon has a contract expiring in this database that I'm using. Simon's agent says he only wants about £98,000 a week, which is great for his quality, and we agree a contract on £82,000 per week. Oh my word, Ronaldo is available, everyone. I forgot about that. Oh, okay. Well, he doesn't even want to talk to us, so that's out of the question. Modric only wants £120,000 a week. And in contract negotiations, we've agreed to 3 years on £95,000 a week. So we're off to a pretty good start here, but it's only going to get harder as we need to sign another 20 or so players to fill our squad up for Season 1. So I'm going to do that, and I'll come back once it's all been finalised and show you through the team. So as you can see, we have been pretty busy over the summer, and we've signed a lot of players at the club, and I think we've actually got a really good team. This is what I think is going to be our first choice team going forward. We managed to pick up Dominic Calvert-Lewin very late on. He left Everton, was without a club, and we managed to pick him up, which is pretty good. Just behind him is Angel Gomez, and I think these two are going to link up really nicely. And then, of course, Gomez will link up nicely with Jonathan David, both being at Lille previously, both having left the club. Then we get to the old heads of the team. We've got Di Maria on the right wing, De Bruyne and Modric through the midfield. Still insane, by the way. So good still. The defence actually is where I think we are the weakest. Now, I'm pretty happy with Kurt Zuma at the left of the centre-backs. Hummels is all right, but again, he's getting on a little bit now, so his physicals are going to start dropping. I don't think Calabria and Gunter are necessarily the greatest fullbacks or wing-backs in the world, but they're the best that we could find right now. But we do have adequate replacements for absolutely everyone here, because we can change things around completely by having Callum Wilson playing up top for us, with behind him Samuel Vignato, who I think is going to be a huge player for us in the future if he can develop nicely. Tarek Lamptey playing left wing is a little bit rogue, but we couldn't really find other left wingers available, and Lamptey can play on the left of the attacking midfield as an inside forward. His finishing is not great, but every other attribute is kind of okay for that kind of role. Lucas Amicha on the other side is important for us actually, because he is German. Now, there aren't any registration rules really in the Bundesliga for foreign players, but when it comes to the Champions League, we do need players that are homegrown in Germany and homegrown at the club. We don't have anyone homegrown at the club other than this random goalkeeper that I found, who's not very good at all, Marcel Lotka. So I think actually, until we get some young players that we're going to try and sign at some point, we aren't going to be able to have a full 25-man squad in the Champions League. Jonathan Tah, also German, helps us out with that German homegrown status. Kostenau playing alongside him should be a fairly solid backup centre-back as well. Kyle Walker-Peters on the right and Boskagli on the left are pretty solid fullbacks. Not as good as the previous two that we had in the first team, but they could do a very good job as deputy. And Tarati as a goalkeeper I think is a good pickup for us as well. Also picked up Sky Vink, he's one for the future. Got him from Ajax, he's on loan at Karlsruhe this season in the 3rd division I believe, so hopefully he does well there and can maybe prove himself. And Nelson Viper is also in the team. He's on loan out to Firth in the 2nd division. He already looks really good actually, so he might be useful for us next season. He just won't get game time right now behind Calvert-Lewin and Callum Wilson. Now you might be thinking, Tom, this is a great team. You've built an amazing team here. It must have all gone your way. Wasn't quite the case. We did miss out on a few players. The one that springs to mind right now is Bundia went to a team in Saudi Arabia rather than joining us, so there were players that we missed out on. But for the most part, I'm feeling good because this team is predicted to come 2nd in the Bundesliga this season. So if we can just surpass that and win a title, that would be incredible. The season started well with 8 different players scoring our first 8 goals of the Bundesliga. which is an incredible stat. 37-year-old Angel Di Maria led the way as our top scorer for the first quarter of the season. He was superb cutting in from the right-hand side. Soon though, Dominic Calvert-Lewin took over as he found his feet in the Bundesliga, helping us to big wins as he scored a hat-trick past RB Leipzig and Eintracht Frankfurt. It wasn't quite all plain sailing though. Bayern Munich did thrash us 5-0, and we also suffered defeats to Dortmund, St. Pauli and league leaders Stuttgart. At the start of January, Stuttgart have a 7-point lead over second place Bayern Munich, as we sit just a point behind them. There is a very important reason as to why we are pausing here in January. From the 1st of January onwards, we can start to offer contracts out to players who only have 6 months left on their deal. We could sign a card if we wanted to, for example, but I'm pretty happy with the strikers that we've got right now. The aim of this video is to win the Champions League, and we did a good job in the league phase by beating Rangers, SK Rapid Vienna, Dortmund, Roma and Partizan. We lost to Liverpool, Barcelona and Galatasaray, which leaves us 12th in the table and needing to go through the knockout playoff rounds. Here we got to play Atalanta, and over 2 legs, we managed to get the better of them by winning 7-3 on aggregate. Calvert-Lewin scored 5 of those goals. But our luck ran out in the round of 16, as we were drawn against Arsenal, who were able to overpower us home and away, defeating us 4-1 on aggregate. But I think that's a pretty good effort for our first season. We continued to be strong in the Bundesliga as we overtook Stuttgart in the standings. The thing is, Bayern Munich also stayed strong and stayed ahead of us. We did manage to win some silverware though. After beating Bayern Munich, Fürth and Mainz, we then played Freiburg in the DFB Pokal final, winning 4-3 in extra time, with wonderkid Samuel Vignato scoring a hat-trick in the process. So all in all, a wonderful season to build on. 7 players have joined us this off-season, as we add real depth to our defence and midfield. Marc Guéhi and Rabiot slot straight into the first team, with the ageing Hummels and Modric dropping to the bench. Ball-winning midfielder Bissouma doesn't actually fit into our tactical plans, so I think the idea will be to sell him for big money to invest into bigger wages, which is what we've done by selling Eggestein and Gunter, as well as loading out a bunch of youngsters for the season. We got bids for plenty of players, like 87 million for Calvert-Lewin, but with no one on the free market as good as him available, we had to say no to the money. And it was a good job we did, because once again, he was our golden boy this season, as he scored 28 goals across the Bundesliga season. In fact, his goals early in the season helped us to win our first 9 games of the campaign, which no other team could match, meaning we were top of the Bundesliga very early on. After that, there was no catching us up. We lost the odd game here and there, but for the most part, we cruised through the season and won the title in just our 2nd season, far exceeding my expectations of the squad. We are going to have a huge dilemma next season, because whilst Dominic Calvert-Lewin was the league's top scorer, the player in 2nd place is Nelson Viper. We sent him out on loan this season to Hanover to develop, and he's developed very well. So knowing who to start next season is going to be a nightmare. We made it a domestic double by beating Wolfsburg, Borussia Mönchengladbach, Bayern Munich and Dortmund on our way to another DFB Pokal final, where Lucas Unmicha of all people scored 4 goals as we won 7-1 in the final. But we don't care about domestic success. This video is all about the Champions League. The league phase wasn't great. We lost away to Chelsea and Feyenoord, with both games finishing 3-1. We also drew 1-1 with both Real Madrid and Switzerland's young boys. Fortunately, we did win our other 4 games though, and we finished 10th in the table. But in the playoff knockout rounds, we looked to be crashing out of the competition, when Benfica beat us 3-2 in Lisbon in the first leg. But back in Germany, we rallied and scored 5 goals to thrash them 7-3 on aggregate, making the round of 16. Here we're taking on Man City, and it was another goal fest. The first leg in Leverkusen ended 3-3 as Phil Foden scored a 93rd minute equaliser. So we know we have to put in a mega performance in Manchester in order to win. So when DCL scored first, I was ecstatic. But City pulled one back through Ruben Neves, a free agent that we missed out on, taking the game to penalties. And this shootout ended up being a 28 penalty contest, where only 21 of the penalties were scored. De Bruyne, Calvert-Lewin and Vignato missed for us. The decisive moment came, Oscar Bob stepped up for his 2nd penalty and put it wide, meaning we squeezed through into the quarterfinals. This was much easier for us to win. We came up against Stuttgart and we dominated them by winning 7-2 on aggregate to make the semi-finals where PSG await us. Incredibly, we took a 2-0 lead in the first leg at home, thanks to goals either side of the half-time break from Dominic Calvert-Lewin. But PSG were able to get back into the tie as they scored late on through Kvaratskhelia. He also scored in the second leg to make it 2-2, with the game heading to extra time. But late on, Reinildo was brought down in the penalty area and the referee pointed to the spot. Up stepped Angel Gomez, who scored to send us to the Champions League final. And if we can beat Liverpool, we will complete the challenge in just 2 seasons. We are without a few key players due to injury, but despite that, we were on the front foot, working the ball down the near side to Reinildo, whose low cross found Di Maria, who gave us the lead just 8 minutes into the match. But it didn't take long for Liverpool to get back on level terms. A defensive mistake allowed Darwin Núñez a clear shot on goal, which he took. Moments later, we let Liverpool through again. This time Andy Robertson led the attack, laying the ball off to Darwin, who hit the post. At this stage, Liverpool were having their way with us. This time Luis Diaz broke through, only to put his effort wide. So heading into the half-time break, it's already been a thrilling match. Liverpool came out strong in the second half though, with Ryan Gravenberch's shot denied just 90 seconds after the restart. McAllister's free kick went wide of the post just 10 minutes later, but that was all the second half wrote, at least until the 92nd minute when we had a free kick, and Rabiot just missed the target. So I was expecting to go to extra time. The players on the other hand were not. Angel Gomez was wide open to pick out a perfect pass over the top for the run of DCL, who slotted his shot past Alisson to win us the Champions League in just our second season. I was not prepared for this to happen so early on, so I'm going to move the goalposts. I'm going to play another 3 seasons, so 5 in total, and I want to see how many Champions Leagues we can win in that time. Hummels, Modric, Callum Wilson and Di Maria all retired at the end of the season. We signed Pervis Estupiñán and Gutierrez to play at left back, Carboni fills in at the centre back position, and Zaniolo replaces Di Maria on the right wing. But Xavi Simons comes in to replace Modric, and when Kevin De Bruyne properly declines, is going to be the heartbeat of our midfield. There was also a decision to be made between Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Nelson Viper, but DCL was still delivering, so we gave him the nod. He thanked us for that by scoring plenty of goals across the season. He was undroppable, but when Nelson did get on the pitch, he scored. 12 Bundesliga goals from 22 appearances, mostly off the bench, is a very respectable return for the young German. The dynamic duo scored enough goals between them to retain our Bundesliga title by 7 points over Dortmund, but we couldn't make it a three-peat in the DFB Pokal as we lost 1-0 in the semi-finals to Frankfurt. The important question though is, can we retain our Champions League title? For the first time, we finished in the top 8 of the league phase, qualifying directly to the round of 16 after recording 5 wins against Man City, Red Star Belgrade, Shakhtar Donetsk, Olympiacos and Sporting Club de Portugal. Across 2 legs, we beat Ajax 4-2 to comfortably make it back to the last 8 of the competition. But here we lost 2-0 to Liverpool in the first leg away from home and were on the cusp of elimination. But a remarkable turnaround in the second leg, where Xavi Simons scored a brace, with Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Kevin De Bruyne, Nelson Viper and Samuel Vignato all getting on the score sheet to win 6-2 on the night and 6-4 on aggregate. So we were drawn against Spurs in the semi-final, and after winning the first leg 2-1, we had 1 foot on the Stade de France pitch where the final was going to be held. But maybe we were overconfident, because in the second leg, Spurs scored first to get back on level terms. Then they scored again to take the lead, before scoring a third goal to put the match beyond all doubt and knock us out of the competition. So close, yet so far. If only we could have beaten Spurs, we may have had a second Champions League to celebrate. I've decided to slim down the squad by selling 6 players and letting Rabiot leave on a free transfer after he was demanding £300,000 a week. We can afford that, it's just the principle. No way is he worth that as a backup player. Tommy Doyle comes in to replace him, which I admit doesn't sound like a good move, but he has really solid attributes across the board to be a backup to Xavi Simons and De Bruyne. Josep Satalo, Emil Holm and Justin Kluivert all joined to become starters, as I reckon, on paper, this is the best team we've had yet. However, things didn't quite work out that way. We ended up losing to the likes of Werder Bremen, Eintracht Frankfurt and Freiburg in the first half of the season. Coupled with losing Xavi Simons for his release fee clause of £87 million in January, and with no one available on a free transfer to bring in to replace him, things were looking tough. If only we could have offered Rabiot maybe £300,000 a week to fill the hole. That would have been quite nice, wouldn't it? Things didn't improve in the second half of the season as we lost to Köln, Augsburg and Freiburg for a second time, which means by the end of the campaign, we finished third in the Bundesliga with our lowest points total yet. We made it back to the DFB Pokal final, but we lost 2-0 to Dortmund, meaning the Champions League is our last hope of a trophy this season. Interestingly, like last season, we won 5 league phase games, this time against Copenhagen, Genk, Red Bull Salzburg, Sporting Club de Portugal and Ajax. But unlike last season, that didn't result in a top 8 finish. We dropped all the way down to 14th. So in the knockout playoff rounds, we managed to just beat Besiktas 3-2 on aggregate, before we had a more convincing 6-3 win against AC Milan in the round of 16. But in the quarterfinals, we went blow for blow against Bayern Munich. In Munich, we played out a 5-all thriller, a match that will go down as one of the greatest Champions League games of all time. Sadly, the same can't be said for the second leg, when Bayern Munich's Jeremy Frimpong scored 6 minutes in to win the match 1-0 and knock us out. So all in all, a terrible season for us. We had 7 new faces join us ahead of our final season. Most notably Ousmane Dembele, who is going to be due a massive upgrade in the next Football Manager, and Diogo Costa, who whilst playing in Saudi Arabia has turned into a monster goalkeeper. This is our final form, following the transfers and Kevin De Bruyne retiring, and I reckon this team could win a Champions League. We were back to dominating the Bundesliga, and with Nelson Viper now our number 1 striker, he scored 28 goals in 27 games to claim the Golden Boot. We also won our 3rd DFB Pokal after getting past Dortmund, Holstein Kiel, Schalke and eventually Hamburg in the final, with Scottish midfielder Lewis Ferguson scoring an important goal in extra time. The last time we won the Champions League, we did the domestic double. So, can we make it another treble? For a 3rd season in a row, it's 5 wins from 8 in the league phase, as we defeated Ferencváros, Copenhagen, Ajax, Panathinaikos and Besiktas. That still wasn't good enough for the top 8 though, so we have to go through the playoff knockout round. A comfortable 11-5 win over Anderlecht on aggregate sets us up against our most difficult opponents yet. But Real Madrid crumbled like a pastry, as we thrashed Los Blancos 5-1 on aggregate to go back to the quarterfinals. Here AC Milan await us, and they were much better than the last time we played them, as they won the first leg 3-2 in Milan. But back at our place, we put on a show and we scored 3 times without reply to win 5-3 on aggregate and take on Arsenal in the semi-finals, who beat us in the first leg 1-0 away from home. However, at our place, we used the home crowd advantage to get back on level terms in the first half, before then scoring twice more in the second half to seal the comeback and make our 2nd Champions League final. And poetically, we're against Bayern Munich, the side we've been battling against domestically for all 5 seasons. First highlight of the game looks to be going in Bayern Munich's favour. That's not good. Frimpong finds the ball out wide to Davis, back into Musiala. We sold Basuma to Bayern Munich when we got rid of him. If he ends up scoring or playing in a significant part of this game in our loss, for example, that would also be very frustrating for us. But we seem to be bypassing him right now as Emil Holm has got the ball out wide. Can he find a low cross? Can Evan Ferguson find a cross into the middle? Back to Holm. Don't shoot. Pervis Estupiñán though, he can shoot. You love to see it. And the Ecuadorian gets us back on level terms. Highlight straight from the kickoff as Bayern Munich look to try and immediately get back on level, back in front, so I should say. But actually, we've won possession back with a nice interception. Oh, Vignato's ball just not quite powerful enough to get past Upamecano there. Real shame that as Basuma brings it out from the back as Musiala gets past his man. And now we've got a 4-on-4 situation here at Elise. That one looked offside to me. That one looked offside. I think VAR is going to pull us back for an offside. Yes, thank you very much. So at half-time, it is a stalemate right now. Bayern Munich 1, Bayer Leverkusen 1. We might need to make some early changes. Now, there's not many players on the bench because we don't have any homegrown players at the club, so we can't have a full 25-man squad in the Champions League. We have to really restrict things. I think we've only got about 18 players in the Champions League squad, as Diaby looks to be down injured right now. Oh, the physios are coming on, look. The physios are coming on to see if he's all right. But let's get Moussa Diaby off. So we've got available on the bench to us Justin Kluivert, who can play on the right-hand side. None of our attackers seem to be doing much in this game. They can't seem to break down the back three or back five of Bayern Munich right now. And although we are pressing highly, they are able to pass past us pretty quickly. They've got the ball up to the attack so fast there. Frimpong using his pace and stretching the play out wide there. Gets past his man, puts a cross into the middle. Diogo Costa claims that one. 68 minutes on the clock. Bayern Munich looking to come forward here. Oh my word. My heart was in my mouth. What just happened there? If we conceded that, I think I may have cried. Vignato on the ball, edge of the area though. We've given him a chance to prove himself and he's taken a shot when maybe a pass would have been better there. Maybe we look to bring him off and we bring Skyvink on the left-hand side. Or I don't know, do we change things now? Because Nelson's just given us the lead by scoring from a corner. Right, 15 to go. Maybe we do just try and shore things up a little bit instead. I mean, Vignato's quite tired, isn't he? I reckon we get him off anyway for Skyvink and then move Skyvink out to the left-hand side. I think Simakan does come on, maybe for Holm, who's a bit tired and on a yellow card. That seems sensible. So now it really is sit back and pray and hope that we hold on for a second Champions League title in 5 seasons. Technically 4 seasons, I suppose. We won it in our second season, didn't we? As Angel Gomez doesn't score. Nelson gets his apparently 58th goal of the season, by the way, which is insane. He's been so good across the season. Only 28 of those came in the Bundesliga. So apparently it comes off Nelson Viper's head. There we go. And I think that should clinch us our second Champions League with this team of free agents, which is absolutely incredible. And there we have it. We've done it. The players are now collecting their trophy, as we are crowned the champions of Europe. You love to see it. And if you enjoyed this video, I know you're going to love this one, where I had £1 billion to sign one player from every single Champions League team from this past season, and then use that team that I built to try and win the Champions League. The thumbnail for that video is on screen for you right now, so go click it, give it a watch, and see how we did, and if we could win the Champions League.